What's going on, guys? I wanted to jump in real quick before this episode starts and let you know I know there's a lot going on, right, with the coronavirus and the whole world shifting right before our eyes. This episode, while it does provide insight and encouragement from one specific person's journey, it is not to be taken as medical advice. There is nothing official about this episode. It is simply an interview of somebody who had the unfortunate circumstance of being diagnosed with the coronavirus and having made it through. So, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy it. There's a lot of great messaging in this episode and a lot of golden nuggets. So, without any further ado, let's get into the theme song. I've spent the last 10 years pushing the limits while identifying trends and patterns in my type 1 diabetes management. Follow along as I learn, apply, and share the fitness, nutrition, and lifestyle strategies that I've learned from diabetes experts around the world. The real question is, how can we live fearlessly with diabetes while maintaining stable blood sugars? This podcast is here to give you the answer. My name is Matt Vandervecht, and with my co-host Ali Abdul Karim, we welcome you to Pardon My Pancreas. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Pardon My Pancreas podcast. We have both of your hosts here today. My name is Matt, and I'm here with Ali, and I want Ali to introduce somebody who he thought we should bring onto the podcast. So, Ali, take it away.
What's going on, guys? We got a really special guest today. A lot of conversation going on with COVID-19 and so much information out there. But we have someone who recently had COVID and who is a type 1 diabetic. Patrick, what's going on?
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you for coming on.
We're super excited to have you on here, and even more excited that you're feeling better. Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, thank God. I've been feeling good. Haven't had any symptoms in, I guess, over a week, probably longer. But yeah, I'm feeling good.
Man,
Good.
Praise God. I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Before we jump into that, a really interesting story that I cannot wait to dive into, I want to know a little bit about you, Patrick. What's your diabetes history? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I was diagnosed in November of 2013, the November after I graduated college. I had kind of wanted to get into the biking that summer, and it was like biking about 10 miles or 15 miles, nothing too serious. And around September and October, I started dropping weight. I'm like, this is so easy. I don't know why anyone that ever complains about exercise and losing weight, it's flying off. And then the symptoms of the extreme thirst symptom came in, and everything else. And then I learned it wasn't the biking that was causing the weight loss, it was the diabetes. So since then, I've been going to a camp every summer for athletes with type 1 diabetes training camp. And they've been a great source for me. And it's like a good, like, I feel like each summer it's like a refresher to get my head back into, like, if I lag off with diabetes and everything, or the kind of get off track, it's a great place to go. It's a good community. So I've had diabetes for 7 years coming up, and outside of that, I've done comedy for 7 years as well, and I try to include stories about my diabetes whenever I can as well.
That's amazing. I gotta circle back to the camp for a second. You go to the camp and you feel like you're better at diabetes. Maybe better is the wrong word, but I'm curious because is that a competition thing? Like you have friends there who are like, you're trying to compete for numbers, or is it like an inspiration or
No.
a reminder? What's that serving as for you?
So basically, it's definitely not a competition at the camp and everything, but it's more like being around the community. You hear their stories. You want to do better after you leave the camp, and so it's very motivational there. And it's people of all different ages, all different athletic backgrounds. Some people are trained for Ironmans. I think they taught someone to ride a bike at the camp. So
Oh,
literally,
wow.
exact like two opposite ends of the spectrum. With the competition wise, I do have a friend there who we do videos called Guess My Blood Sugar, and we compete to see who could have the better blood sugar. And I think the first two are basically you'd eat something and then test your blood sugar, run, test your blood sugar before and after, and drink. Uh, Nothing too crazy, but test before and after. And then whoever lost two out of the three had to do a punishment at the end. So
What kind of punishments are we talking about here?
it was nothing too extreme. The biggest one was we were kind of in a biker bar where we ended this thing, and we just had to do a shot of hot sauce while wearing a dress in the bar.
Wow.
So
Oh,
I lost
right.
that, but you know.
Oh man, that
That's
sounds like my
hilarious.
college experience. Just like, how embarrassed can we make somebody?
Yeah, basically that's
Oh
it. Yeah,
man.
That's hilarious. I love that. It's good,
yeah, it's
clean fun.
fun. Yeah,
That's funny because for all the listeners, the way I got to know Patrick is his content on YouTube, which was Guess My Blood Sugar and all the other funny stuff he's done. He's Patrick, if you could talk about the skit you did with Breaking, if anyone knows the show Breaking Bad, I'm a big fan. Just finished it by the way, really late. Where you did, instead of obviously what they were making in Breaking Bad, you were making insulin and you were essentially creating that. Talk about that a little bit. I thought that was hilarious.
right. So basically, after our like fourth video, Marcus and I, we realized we're more scripted people than improv people. So our what was it? El Camino was coming out. So
Mm-hmm.
we
Nice.
decided we'll write a sketch based on Breaking Bad. Him, the Walter White character, me, the Jesse Pinkman character, and we instead of the cooking the meth, were two diabetics who, because insulin is so expensive, we're going to create our own insulin, and we rented an RV for it. It's the most elaborate thing I've
Wow.
done.
That's
We
intense.
rented, uh,
Wow.
and the beat was one of the beats was blending pig's feet.
That's
'Cause
what it
you-
was.
right. And then using that to create the insulin and everything like that. We had some callback to I'm forgetting the restaurant, the chicken restaurant in the show, but we had that type of stuff going on.
That's amazing. It's such a creative way to create advocacy for an example, insulin prices and to make it funny. And like when I saw that, I was like, man, there's like only a select few of people that are going out of their way to make shows that we love, everyone knows about, into the community of diabetes. And I just thought that
Right.
was clever.
Yeah, that was the most fun thing I did out of all those videos so far. And it turned out great. The guy that filmed it and edited it, he's done all our videos, and I feel like, he's not diabetic, but I feel like he's learned a lot more about the diabetes community, and so it's nice. Yeah.
For sure. I think Ali just made an interesting point too. That's a great way to advocate for ourselves, right? And
Yeah.
there's two sides. Well, there's probably more than two, but two obvious sides. One is insulin's too expensive. We're going to fight for it, and we rally and run to Congress. And the other side is this, bringing it attention to it, in a comedic fashion where it's entertainment. People are like, wait, who is this guy? This is awesome. Oh, wait, insulin's expensive? That sucks. What can we do to help? You know what I mean? Like, that's such an amazing way to do it. And a great viewpoint
Right.
too, Ali. So thank you
Yeah.
for bringing that up.
It starts off with that guy playing the doctor that tells Marcus he was diagnosed with diabetes, and he gives him the price
Mhm.
for the insulin, and he says, this is absurd and everything. And he goes, well, there's other options. Maybe you just become an evil drug overlord, and then that starts our
Let's cook
video.
insulin.
Yeah.
That's
Oh my
perfect.
goodness, that's amazing. I'm kind of curious. I kind of want to jump into the topic. Is that okay if we jump in?
Yeah.
Sweet. So with all the craziness going on, obviously we know there's a lot of panic, there's a lot of terror. There is a lot of heartache going on in the world with people who are losing loved ones. It's a very sensitive issue, but you have been able to bring us a little bit of hope on the topic with your story. And I'd love to hear about, maybe what led you to believe that you had it. Did you get tested? What did the testing look like? How long did it take? If you could just kind of give us a rundown of your intro to getting the COVID coronavirus.
So So it's like whatever the Sunday was, like March 7th or 8th. I'd felt fine all day, and I was I had been with my girlfriend the days leading up to it, and that night, and she was the first one to notice that my body temperature seemed a little hotter than normal. But didn't think much of it. And then the next day, I felt fine, and we're back again the next night, and and it's definitely hotter this time. Her roommate is a nurse, so they had a thermometer. We took my temperature, and it was like 101 or something like that. And so we just kept watching it throughout the night, and it kept. I think it went to 103,
Mm.
and so we decided the next day to go to the doctors. He uh, he basically tested me for the flu, came back negative, but he tested me again because that test had like a 60% accuracy. So he wanted to do another test that was more accurate and it was like a 99% accuracy. And so he did that. And in the meantime, he gave me antibiotics and like Tamiflu. And I pretty much felt fine that day. I took the antibiotics, I took the Tamiflu, and I took Motrin as he instructed. And that night, my temperature it was about 100 and everything, but it just kept dropping throughout the night. So at about 5 or 6 in the morning, it was 93. I was sweating and I was shaking a little bit. So we called 911. They brought me to the hospital. By the time I got to the hospital, when they took my temperature, it was normal. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't cold or anything.
Of course,
But
right? Like, oh,
yeah,
everything's going bad. And like, you're fine though.
which which
Timing.
yeah, which she said too. She goes, I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad you're feeling well, but I
Right.
want to be justified in making us go here and everything.
Hmm.
But so, so we what was it? So basically, they tested me for the flu then there as well, and
Mm.
it came back negative. They also did two tests that came back negative, and so once that happened, they said they're going to test me for the COVID, and it's basically uh, just a very like annoying nose swab type thing. It's nothing bad, but it's not the most comfortable thing either.
I saw a video of it. It looks really uncomfortable and invasive.
It was, but
You do
I
what you got to
survived.
do. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So they tested me for that. They said that those test results were supposed to come back in the next in a day or two. It didn't come back.
Oh.
That was a Wednesday. It didn't come back till Saturday. But since they
Mm.
didn't have the results back, they they admitted me to the ICU just because we didn't know if I had it, and
Yeah.
they wanted to watch over me. So as soon as I got to pretty much that whole day in the hospital, I felt good. I had a fever and a cough. Those were my only two symptoms really going in. And the cough was nothing that bad, but I felt good in the hospital. And it was before all like the craziness happened. Like pretty much the days in the hospital was when I saw everything was getting more serious and worse. The doctors were convinced I didn't have it. They would tell me, "You're fine. You'll be out here in a couple of days. You look good," you know.
Mm.
And they were, uh, yeah. So I was not worried about it the whole time. And each day I was getting better. So basically, they released me from the hospital on Friday, which I had a pretty good like isolation room.
Mm.
I think they needed it. So, I was doing well. So then Saturday, we get the call. It came back positive.
Mm.
So, but by that point, I was feeling good. So I wasn't too worried. Like if I had been diagnosed on the Wednesday when I went in, I would have been a lot more like panicked than I was then.
Mhm.
So yeah, so that was basically my whole diagnosis. Then I went back to South Jersey. I'm from North Jersey, but my sister had a house in South Jersey, and I could be away from my roommates there while she was with her boyfriend at their place, and I did my quarantine there.
So how did you feel when you got that news? You said you would have been more panicked if it was on Wednesday, but that's still some heavy news. I mean, was it like getting
Yeah,
diagnosed with type 1, kind of similar to that, or not as intense?
when I was diagnosed with type 1, I was just relieved to know that something was like up. I felt like such like hell
Mm,
that, I was relieved that they knew what it was. With that, I was feeling good and I was expecting nothing to come back. They had took a CAT scan and they thought it was bronchitis. So I
okay.
was expecting nothing more than bronchitis. And then they said it came back positive. So there was a panic. I'm like, oh God, oh God. But like after like pretty much just the half hour of just trying to reassure myself I'm feeling good, I'm getting better, it was all right. It's still nerve wracking to see the stories,
Yeah.
like as I was recovering, but I did develop after I was released from the hospital and in the quarantine a headache, and I did have a fever later on, just one night, but that was the worst it had gotten for me during my,
Mm.
Oh,
uh,
wow. So that
yeah.
was the peak of it was when you were in the ICU. It didn't get any worse than that.
Not really. The headache stopped,
Mm,
but yeah, no,
Mm.
I never felt like super bad or my breathing was fine the whole time. They gave me an inhaler, which I'm still doing twice a day, morning and night,
Mm.
and they gave me antibiotics and Tamiflu just to, I guess, flush everything out.
hmm
Hmm.
Mm. I
Man.
wouldn't expect an inhaler, but that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of precaution, of course. I mean, I'm sure the pain varies from person to person.
right.
But the story of how I found out you even had COVID was I was on YouTube, and then I see this really great video. You weren't on the thumbnail. It said, "Are diabetics more at risk with COVID-19?" And it was CNBC. And then you come out of nowhere, and I'm like, "Wait, this is Patrick. This is crazy. He had COVID." And but my question to you is, in terms of blood sugar, what were you noticing, and were you wearing a CGM during that period?
So yeah, so my blood sugar was high at the hospital. I'm
Hmm.
not sure if it was because maybe the first night it had something to do with like the COVID, but I think mostly it was because I was out of a routine and I was just in a bed all day and stressed, I was wired up and I couldn't move. I had no movement at all.
Wow.
So my stress levels were high.
Mm.
And, but like even when they were high, they were easy to get to come back down. I didn't have
Right.
problems like controlling it. Once I got back to my sister's place, I was trying to eat less carbs than I normally do, just to have better control over it, and I think that helped a lot. It's pretty much. Uh, I never went super high. I had a couple lows, but
Hmm.
everything was pretty normal throughout.
That really clears up a lot because there's so much noise out there I'm sure Matt, you've heard all the noise with diabetes and COVID. Like, oh my God, we're a complete danger with COVID. Please, and my parents are like terrifying me, like, no, don't go anywhere. You cannot get sick. I'm like any other 23-year-old. The only difference from what I've seen and what you're telling me is we become more resistant. And that happens with the flu. That happens with almost any sickness. Our body's under attack.
Right.
So it's assuring to hear that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And there are some points that I want to make. One is that not all cases are going to be the same, right? Like some
Right.
people that I've heard of get pretty severe reactions. They think they're going to die, where it's like, I don't think I'm going to make it through this, and then they do, but they're like, it's the worst I've felt in my entire life. So I'm really grateful to hear, Patrick, that you didn't feel like death and that you powered through, and that the ICU is the worst of it. You got over it. That's awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. And of course, this gives a lot of people hope that are listening, where it's like, just because you get COVID, does it mean that you are going to die? No. Does it mean you're going to feel like death? No. But it is still dangerous, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
we have to still acknowledge that there are a lot of dangers. There are still people dying. So it's not to be taken lightly, like still
Right.
wash your hands, still stay inside, right? But this is, opening up a whole new conversation where we now get to see your story, where it's not all negative. You made it through. You felt decent. Your blood sugars behaved fairly well, right? Like, it wasn't this horrible roller coaster. So I'm really encouraged to hear about this.
Yeah, and I think too, like I think something, I mean, based on nothing but what I like think of why it didn't get me so bad was I got it really like I feel like I got it really early on. I was admitted to the hospital really early on, and the second I got there, they were shooting me up with like fluids, and I think that helped flush a lot of whatever this is out. I mean, I just I felt a lot better once I was hooked up to IVs than I did in the waiting for a room in the ER. And after came out of the the hospital, I still, you know, was being extra cautious with everything, taking vitamins, drinking water like nonstop and everything, just trying to make sure my body was like the healthiest it could be to like fight it off.
I'm curious because I mean I have two questions. One of them is how were the professionals in the hospital treating you? Like, were they wearing a bunch of layers and had masks, and also the people who took you to the hospital, or did you probably get an ambulance, so on and so forth?
Yeah, so the people in the ambulance were wearing face masks. I didn't say I thought I had like coronavirus at that time, but they were still wearing face masks and everything. And but once I was in the room in the ICU, basically they were like head to toe, like 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 hazard suits and everything. They had to take it, put it on each time before they came in the room, and then take it off immediately before they came in. So like it was like a 10-minute thing, like seeing them like they're coming in now, and then in my room for like 3 minutes, and then 4 minutes for like taking it off and all that. But that's each nurse had to do that as well. So it's not like the nurses came in periodically and stuff, but I think it was a lot less than had it just been a normal thing.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, they're still trying to figure out how it's spread, and is it airborne and micro this and macro that with the PPE, personal protective equipment, right? Where it's if they don't have enough, they're in trouble because then they can get it a lot easier, and they really do have to load up. The face mask, wherever they're doing the positive pressure breathing, all this stuff. I've been chatting with my sisters who are all nurses, and talking about how that's exactly what you're saying. That every time they go in, it's a new set of masks, of headgear, of tubing, and then they go in, do as much as they can, and they go out, take it all back off, throw it away. It's nuts how much goes into this, but it's necessary to protect them, especially because they're seeing 10, 15, 20 people a day where they really got to be careful.
Yeah, and a salute to your sisters too, man. Working, I mean, not all heroes wear capes and masks, right?
Man, it is nuts hearing the stories, and they are the true heroes. The medical staff who are still pushing, going to their jobs. They're not getting a lot of sleep. They're all being worked overtime, and it's a scary time. It really is.
It is. I have a question for both of you because I don't know. I looked this up personally, and I'm wondering if you do get COVID, I would think you're immune to the sickness or the virus. But I looked up online that there's other sources saying scientists don't know yet, it's too soon. And I would think, I mean, Patrick, in your shoes, you're probably like, oh man, what's the point? I should just go outside, And of course, it's not what we should do. But like,
I'm gonna go to the
I'm
beach.
okay, I'm immune. Yeah, I'm gonna be the only one. So to be like, I am legend. But have you guys had any experience looking that up or?
I mean, I hope to God there's some type of immunity because, like, I would hate. Well, I thought about like I'm hearing those stories, and like you said, like it's like I don't want it to be like I got lucky this time, but if I'm not immune to it, then the second time might not be as good. So
might not be as pretty. Yeah.
So I'm still like doing everything, like being extra cautious and everything, the hand washing. And now I'm with my parents too, and my sister at their place. So if I could still carry it, so
yeah.
I heard what Dr. Fauci say. They don't know, but
You know, yeah.
he was like he seemed pretty confident that he think if this is any other virus, then there is
Yeah.
some type of immunity.
Man, I sure
The
hope
only,
so. That
yeah,
would be
I mean,
nice.
the only thing I've heard from the coronavirus itself, and I mean, I'm no scientist. Please, I want to remind people of that. The most viruses carry DNA inside the actual protein capsid or whatever it is. With corona, it's the only virus that has RNA. I mean, even if you don't know what those are, but just the fact that this heart and soul inside of it is not normal. It's not
Mhm.
Yeah.
typical. It's a little more lethal, I guess you can say, or dangerous. Not lethal is too strong, but you get my point.
Yeah, it's I think the unknown is what makes it so scary, right? Whether it's the
Yeah.
virus itself that we don't know a lot about, or look at it, our schedules, our work situations, our education, everything is an unknown right now. And I think that's what's causing a lot of people to freak out or at least be uneasy. You know, it's not the fact that you're staying indoors. That's not why you're freaking out. It's because you don't know how long you're going to be staying indoors for. You don't know how this thing is going to be transmitted. Do you need to wash down your doorknobs at your apartment complex? Do you need to wear a face mask 24/7, right? Like the unknown, I think that's the scariest part. And as we
Yeah.
learn more about this virus, it's going to become a little bit easier for us to handle. I think it's going to be, a journey to get there for sure. They're still doing a lot of studies, a lot of tests. To answer all these questions, I also don't know. I heard that they're still unsure about a lot of things concerning the virus. And, I'm hoping those studies come through fast. But even with this thing being fast tracked, medical studies take time. Clinical trials, they take time, So, I think treatment is going to be our first gold nugget, being able to treat it. But I think that any vaccine is going to take quite a while for them to come up with.
Yeah. I guess in the meantime, we gotta stay home. I would love to ask advice from both of you. Like for everyone listening, stay home, sanitize, wash your hands, limit the contact, limit everything.
I think that's a great thing is stay home and advice, right? So I want to know what Patrick did to pass the time when he was quarantined. What was your go-to?
Breaking Bad.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's why you said you just want to go home and watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah,
I
I'm
love
on
that
the
show.
second season. Yeah.
Is Terry Crews on that show? I've seen it.
He's great.
Dude, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine is a great show to be watching during this.
Yeah. All right, so a
I'm
lot
sure
of
you
TV.
Yeah.
Was there anything else? Did you get any like new languages figured out or like musical instruments?
Nah, I've been doing lots of writing for shows, future shows if theaters ever open up again.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. So that's been fun. I actually feel busier than I had been because I don't have to worry about work, and so I'm more like just doing what I want and writing all the time. And I've been
It's that
trying
side
to,
hustle.
yeah, basically. I've been trying to work out I haven't been biking, but I have weights here.
That's good. Yeah, get some movement in, man. I mean, rest up, of course. You were sick, so take it easy. But that movement's for sure going to help with the insulin sensitivity and just overall health. It's going to make you feel better, help you not go stir crazy.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, man. So with who knows how long this thing's going on, I want to know what your guys' plans are. Do you have any goals or aspirations or items you want to check off your to-do list? What are you guys working on right now?
I guess I'll start. I'm trying to, being that I can't be in the weight room, which is something that I love more than doing, your typical calisthenics movements. I'm trying to get stronger calisthenics wise, different variations of push-ups, endurance, different, we're doing the other days, we had a band on our legs and going uphill and downhill and just longer cardio stuff. That's been my goal fitness wise. Other than that, it's been just trying to get more productive. I mean, Matt knows my whole little not whole, I would say, but like this part of my life where I don't feel like I want to do much. So being the pandemic we're in, it's not a pandemic for me selfishly. It's like, oh, this is normal. I'm always home doing it. Just trying to get more productive.
Yeah, I mean, basically, same type of stuff. I'm just, I bike a lot normally, so my legs are pretty good. I'm using this time to do the upper half now with the weights and everything. Uh, so I got that going on, and then just write as much as possible because once things go back to normal, I know I won't be able to, and so just take advantage of it.
Yeah, dude. Oh man, that's one thing I want to tell everyone. Like, this isn't going to last forever. Take advantage. Like, granted, it's a dark time for sure.
Right.
But there are positives. Take advantage of this time, whether it's spending time with your family, whether it's, learning that new language you've been trying to do. The single biggest excuse that I hear from any client, whether it's fitness or diabetes or mindset, whatever it is I don't have time.
Yeah.
Guess what you have now?
Yeah.
As much time as you need. So it's like, you don't have this excuse anymore. It's time to really work on yourself, to work on your goals, to spend time with others. When this is over, are you going to look back and go, man, I wish I had spent more time with my family that I was quarantined with? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or are you going to look back and go, wow, I was able to create memories. Wow, I was able to achieve my dreams that have been being put on hold for the last 5 years. So I think that's something that we can all kind of just take pause and think over for a moment of, what can I accomplish? What can I use this for? I can still watch Netflix, right? Yeah. But I can still also be productive with the other half of my day.
Netflix won't go away, but what about you, Matt? Other than the workload of FPS and everything going on there, what are some new goals? And this, I know this quarantine life is so much similar to you and I. We both kind of are homebodies, and you work from home.
Yeah, it's funny. You mentioned how nothing's really changed for you. And I'm like, yeah, the only thing that changed for me is I can't go to the gym now.
That's it.
I mean, like, every once in a while I go for a hike, and I absolutely love going outdoors and exploring nature. Like, that just fills my heart with joy, right? But that's not a daily routine for me. So as far as daily routines go, not a whole lot has changed for me because I do spend a lot of my time creating content and new programs and coaching my clients in FTF Warrior. So not a whole lot's changed. I do have some new stuff we're putting out, and I'm excited for that, and some new secret projects. But as far as personal goals, the first couple of days I recognized I had fallen into, this is hard to admit, I had fallen into laziness, and I stopped working out for like 2 or 3 days. And I was like, without weights, it's like, why even try? That's stupid.
Yeah.
And I just kind of fell into this, like, I'm being productive though. I'm doing work. So working out would just be an excuse to not work on my FTF Warrior stuff. And then day 3 comes along, and I have like this crazy resistance. I'm sitting at like 200 all day, and I'm like, gosh dang it. Okay, fine. And so now my goal is to stay consistent. So for the last 2 weeks, I've been working out just about every day. I made a new workout routine for my Warriors Tribe members, and I'm going through it with them. So that's been a blast, just getting back to calisthenics, body weight stuff, realizing that I had let myself kind of go when it comes to functional mobility, and I was just focusing on strength. So now working on flexibility and some more accessory muscles. So that's been nice, kind of a little change of pace. I've been lifting weights for years, and I forgot that I've been kind of, lacking on the mobility part. So that's my silver lining, being able to focus on at-home workouts.
That's really amazing, because like there's different, like I was telling this to my girlfriend, there's always another level you can reach in fitness. Even if you're like an Olympic athlete, there's always a way to gas you out. There's always a way to tire you so much. So you're never really finished, even though like you said, I've been doing a lot more weights that I can't even do certain things that still make me flexible, or certain problems with my hips, and I want to do push-ups in different variations. I can't do wide grip pull-ups, and we do those, and it's still like pushing your strength in different levels. So that's always amazing to hear. Like this time of quarantine, and I'm living in my own victim life where I'm not making it the best of it, but there is that opportunity to, for me, like make a lot of content, get my strength really good, read a lot more, and meditate, do yoga, yada yada.
Yeah, use it as an opportunity to work on yourself. It's a great way to find a positive in this downtime. Patrick, before we go, I know since we are streaming this in the Warriors Tribe, we've got a couple questions for you from our members.
Oh, cool.
For anybody else who's listening who's not part of the Warriors Tribe, you can go check it out at thewarriorstribe.com. But we'll get to those questions in just a second. I want to ask Patrick, for our listeners, what is a golden nugget that we can grab from you on type 1 diabetes management, on pushing through hard times when you've got the coronavirus, or something else that you want to give to our listeners?
What do you mean by golden nugget? Like just some insight or how?
Yeah. Tips and tricks, or maybe a lesson that you learned along the way from being introspective, or whatever it is.
I mean, I feel, I think I said it a little bit about it earlier, but basically I always feel the best with my diabetes management when I'm in surround myself with the community and everything. So talking to people who've been through similar experiences, whether, even if they're like not doing well or you're not doing well, just like having that same camaraderie pushes me to do better and want to be better. And yeah.
So community is so powerful. I mean, that's the only reason I know you guys.
Yeah.
I would never have met you ever if there was no diabetic community, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely love that. And I've made a ton of friends. I've learned my own tips and tricks from the community. And that's ultimately what led into the creation of the Warriors Tribe, was community, finding a place where we can find the positive, be action takers, and ultimately level up our diabetes management too along the way. I wanted to take a second to thank you, Patrick, for coming on. Thank you, Ali, for reaching out to Patrick and introducing us. And Patrick, again, I'm so grateful that you've pushed through, that you didn't have this horrendous experience, that you are able to give us this message of encouragement, that it's not an end all, that life goes on and there is hope. So thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. We really appreciate it, taking time out.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's it for our episode today. Patrick, Ali, stay on. We're going to answer some questions in the Warriors Tribe. And all our listeners, make sure you subscribe, check out our other episodes, leave us a review. You might get on the podcast itself. And have an awesome day, guys. Keep up the fight. All right, guys, that is it for our episode today. I want to remind you that this episode contains no medical advice. It was just us asking Patrick for his story, his journey, his experiences, right? Now, you likely also heard me talk about the Warriors Tribe. We were live streaming into the Warriors Tribe group, and they get an opportunity to ask questions and get coaching and a lot of great other stuff like workouts and meals and all that great stuff. If you're curious, you want more info on it, go to thewarriorstribe.com where there's a free training. And if there are spots available, that is where you will find them. If not, we reopen every 3 months. I highly recommend you get jumping in there because there's a lot of fun. It's a big party. That's where a bunch of us cool type 1s hang out, learn how to automate our blood sugars, take back control of our lives, and live fearlessly with type 1 diabetes. So one more time, you can find all of that information at thewarriorstribe.com. You can check the link in the show notes, in the description, head over there and jump on in. Have an awesome day, guys, and keep up the fight.